Let me tell you about a couple I worked with. I'll call them Laura and Chase. They came in looking on the surface like they were doing pretty well. One night over dinner, Laura said something that completely blindsided Chase. She looked at him and said, "I'm not happy in our marriage right now." Chase was completely floored. In his mind, their marriage was at least an 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5. They were respectful to each other. They were good parents together. They tried not to tear chunks out of each other when they disagreed. He came home on time. He even arranged babysitters and planned date nights. So when Laura said she'd rate their marriage closer to a 2, he genuinely could not understand. At one point, he said, "But I take you out. We go on dates." And she said, "Yes, but what do we do on those dates? We talk about the kids, we talk about work. Then we come home and you're on your phone or you're watching TV. And I feel like you don't really see me, like you don't know me." Now, here's the part that often gets missed. When Chase heard how unhappy Laura was, he didn't withdraw, he didn't stop trying. He actually tried harder. He started doing more around the house. He picked up extra chores. He bought her gifts. He looked for tangible ways to show her that he cared. In his mind, he was thinking, if I can just do enough, if I can just meet her needs better, she'll finally be happier with me. But something confusing kept happening. Laura was still unhappy. And then over time, Chase started to feel discouraged and frustrated. He didn't understand what he was missing, and so slowly a painful story began to form in his mind. He started thinking, no matter what I do, it's never enough. I can't seem to please her. I don't know what she wants from me. That's when they ended up in my office. Because from Chase's perspective, he was working harder than ever. And from Laura's perspective, she still felt unseen. What Laura was describing wasn't a lack of effort, it was a longing to be known. And as we slowed things down in the therapy room, I heard how much Laura wanted conversations that went deeper than logistics. She wanted to talk about her inner world, her fears, her longings, the things that mattered to her heart. But when she had tried that in the past, Chase would either jump into problem solving or get distracted. And over time, she started to pull back, not because she didn't care, but because opening up started to feel too risky. In emotionally focused therapy, we talk a lot about this. When vulnerability isn't met with presence, people don't usually protest forever. They get quieter, they get careful, they get shy about sharing their inner world. What was really important in the story is that once Chase had space to reflect, he said something that surprised Laura. He said, "I want that too." He wanted to be able to tell her when something was hard at work. He wanted her to ask follow up questions, not to fix it, but to show that it mattered to her. What both of them were longing for was the same thing: to be known, to feel emotionally met, to feel like their inner life mattered to the other person. So they decided to experiment with a couple of small but meaningful changes. The first was this: a weekly coffee date. Sometimes it happened at a coffee shop, sometimes it was just on their patio or in their kitchen. But they were clear about the purpose. This wasn't a logistics meeting, and it wasn't a problem solving session either. They asked questions like, "What's been weighing on you lately? What's something you're hoping for? What's been hard? What's been meaningful?" They even asked about prayer requests. And they made one key agreement: this was not a time to fix, it was a time to listen. It was a time to stay curious, to be emotionally present with one another. The second shift they made had to do with something we call bids for connection. They began to notice that when one of them shared something, a story about a friend, a moment from the day, a random thought, it wasn't just information. It was more of an invitation. When Laura mentioned something that happened to a friend, she wasn't just reporting news. She was doing something else. She was reaching for connection. She was actually reaching for Chase. That became Chase's cue to take out his earbuds and put down his phone and turn towards her. One thing that helped them a lot was simply checking in, saying something like, "Can I share something with you right now? Are you in a place to hear me? Those small moments of consent created safety. And safety is what allows people to open up their hearts. Because here's the thing, connection doesn't come from doing more activities, it comes from feeling emotionally accessible, responsive, and engaged. That's the heart of emotionally focused therapy. When couples learn to slow down, to turn towards each other, and to make space for each other's inner world, distance starts to soften. Not because anyone is doing everything perfectly, but because both people feel seen. If you're watching this and parts of Laura or Chase's story feel familiar, you're not alone. And the path forward isn't usually a big dramatic action. It's often built on small, consistent moments of presence. If this resonated, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more conversations like this, stick around. Hey, you're not broken and your relationship isn't beyond repair. Sometimes it just needs a safer place for the heart to land. Until next time, I'm rooting for you.